Yo! So, once again, got my TARDIS up, time to go back through the Doctor Who timeline. This time, looking at the past. Now, I technically have to make a small revision to my kind of list of it, as you could argue that the first one comes at the creation of the Earth, and it's a little hard to put a date on that. So, which is from The Runaway Bride. But anyway, into the list of time proper. We start out at 79 AD, where the 10th Doctor and Donna, in trying to stop the Pyrovile, end up causing the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and the destruction of Pompeii. A few years later, in 102 AD, the 11th Doctor and his friend Amy Pond show up in Britain during the time of the Romans. The Roman occupation of Britain in 102 AD. They also, through a series of events, cause, well, pretty much the end of the universe, but that's making it more complicated than it needs to be. The Doctor is locked in the Pandorica by a load of its past enemies, and obviously the universe ends. 851 AD, the 12th Doctor and his companion Clara Oswald encounter a Viking settlement and a girl named Ashilda who dies while trying to stop the Maya from destroying the village. 1138, the 12th Doctor retires to a castle in... I can't remember where it was. But yeah, he retires to a castle in 1138 where he spends most of his time playing electric guitar and riding on a tank. Yeah, it's weird. 1190. The 12th Doctor takes his companion Clara Oswald to Nottingham, into Sherwood Forest, to see if they can find Robin Hood, and in doing so they meet Robin Hood. Then we leap forward a couple of centuries to 1562, where the 10th Doctor meets up with a future version of himself and a past version of himself, and also unwillingly gets married to Elizabeth I. Yeah, as I said, it gets pretty odd. But 1580, the 11th Doctor and his companions Amy Pond and Rory Williams go for a kind of romantic trip to Venice, where they encounter vampires. And in 1599, the 10th Doctor and his companion Martha Jones show up to the Globe Theatre to meet Shakespeare, where they also run into Elizabeth I. Again, although having been abandoned by the 10th Doctor the first time, she's obviously not pleased to see him. Now, in the interim between this and my next entry, somewhere in the 17th century, the 11th Doctor and his companions Amy and Rory also encounter a pirate ship that's being haunted by a siren. That's somewhere in the 17th century. I don't know exactly where. But anyway, moving on. 1619. The 13th Doctor and her companions Graham, Ryan and Yaz end up in the town of Bilehurst Crag and go meet King James during a witch hunt. 1651. The 12th Doctor meets back up with Ashilda, who is now immortal and is now going by the name Lady Me. Once again, then we leap forward about another century to 1814, the last of the Great Frost Fairs, where the 12th Doctor takes his new companion Bill Potts to just have a look around the Frost Fair. Also, somewhere in the River Song is having a birthday date with a version of the Doctor. I don't know which one. But 1851, well, not just that. In 1814, you've got a kind of monster in the Thames. You have a giant fish under there, which the 12th Doctor eventually frees. But that's not the only thing to come out of the Thames. 1851, a Cyber King rises from the Thames before it's eventually destroyed and sent into the Time Vortex by the 10th Doctor. 1869, the 9th Doctor and his companion Rose Tyler, in aiming for 1860 Naples, end up in 1869 Cardiff, where they encounter Charles Dickens, and with the help of him they defeat the Gelth. 1870, the 11th Doctor and his companions Amy and Rory turn up to a town in America called Mercy, where they're hunted down by a gunslinger. And in 1879, the 10th Doctor and his companion Rose Tyler end up in Scotland in 1879, where they encounter Queen Victoria, who, after she helps them to defeat a werewolf, she ends up banishing them from the Empire. 1881 on the planet Mars. The 12th Doctor and his companions Nardole and Bill, they end up encountering a Victorian colony in 1881 on the planet Mars with ice warriors. And obviously that causes trouble. 1890. The 11th Doctor and his companion Amy Pond go to France in 1890 to meet Vincent van Gogh and discover the Crephaeus from one of his paintings. 1892. The 11th Doctor, having just lost his companions Amy and Rory, decides to retire and go live quite a sheltered life, go away from the public eye, but is ultimately called back into action by a governess named Clara, who has kind of spotted demon snowmen go around the place. One year later, in 1893, we have two more to deal with, which is a mysterious woman known as Mrs. Gillyflower is kind of recruiting people to join a mysterious cult, and also the Great Intelligence shows back up again to kidnap the members of the Paternoster gang in order to kind of lure the Doctor into a trap. 1 year later, in 1894, the Paternoster gang once again encountered the Doctor, who was just regenerated into Doctor number 12. 1913. The 10th Doctor and Martha Jones retire to 1913 in order to escape from the family of blood. And in doing so, the Doctor becomes a teacher and Martha becomes his maid. 1914. The 12th Doctor encounters the 1st Doctor, and they also help save a captain from being killed and eventually witness the famous Christmas armistice in 1914. 1926. The 10th Doctor and his companion Donna Noble end up at a garden party which is attended by famous crime novelist Agatha Christie, who helps them to defeat a giant wasp. 1930. The Daleks attempt to hijack the construction of the Empire State Building and are eventually stopped by the 10th Doctor and his companion Martha Jones. 1938. The Angels attempt to take Manhattan and turn it essentially into a farm for them, so that they can constantly feed forever on people's timelines. 1941 has three separate appearances of the Doctor. The 9th Doctor and his companion Rose Tyler encounter Captain Jack Harkness and a mysterious set of gas-masked zombies. Also, the 11th Doctor and Amy Pond encounter Winston Churchill and the Daleks, and also at Christmas that year, the 11th Doctor helps a family run by the mother Madge Orwell to get home from a mysterious planet. 1947. The partition of India, and the 13th Doctor and our companions Graham, Ryan and Yaz go to try and visit Yaz's grandmother, and end up in the middle of Thajarians and members of the partition. 1952. The coronation of Queen Elizabeth Queen Elizabeth II, sorry. And also a creature known as the Wire, hiding in people's television sets, is attempting to steal their faces and feed forever. 1955. The 13th Doctor and her companions end up in the American West, where they encounter Rosa Parks, and also have to stop her being named Krasko from destroying history. 1969, the 11th Doctor and his companions, Amy, Rory and River, have to stop a mysterious set of creatures known as the Silence from various plots. 1974, the 11th Doctor and his companion Clara show up to help a scientist called Alec Palmer with a set of supernatural occurrences. In 1980, the the 12th Doctor shows up to try and figure out what's causing a set of ghosts in the far future. 1983, he and the 11th Doctor and Clara Oswald end up on a Cold War submarine that's being hijacked by an ice warrior. In 1987, the 9th Doctor and his companion Rose Taylor go back to see Rose's dad when he was alive, and she attempts to save him, of course causing problems. And finally, in 1996, well, it's effectively the end of the universe, as, well, the universe is going to hell, and Amy Pond ends up meeting a younger version of herself inside the British Museum, and also her boyfriend's now plastic. So, yeah, there you go. The Doctor Who passed. So at some point I will get round to the present, but for the time being I've done the future and I've done the past. Until next time, see ya.